Okay, welcome to video question number 3. In this question, it is stated the quadratic equation 4x squared plus 4k x plus 9 equals 0. It gives you that k is greater than 0 and that this equation has exactly one solution for x. Find the value of k. First thing to notice here is when you look at this, there's some strange coefficients. There's this k here. Um, so just looking at this, remember a quadratic written in this form is standard form. It needs to have an a, a b, and a c value. The a value here is the thing in front of the x squared, which is 4. The b value is your 4k, and the x is just x, right? Because normally it would be a number and x. So the number is 4k. That's your b value, and your c value is 9. All right, when it says that a quadratic has only one solution, or maybe it will say two solutions or no solutions, all those situations are dealing with the discriminant. The discriminant helps us determine how many solutions a quadratic will have. So if this one has exactly one solution, the rule was this: the discriminant, which is b squared minus 4ac, that's the portion that's under the square root in the quadratic formula. So the discriminant equals 0. When there is only one solution, the discriminant will always be 0. So now all we have to do is substitute your b value, your a, and your c value. Again, the b value is this 4k right here. So that's going to go in here. The a value is this 4, and the c value is this 9. So let's make those replacements. So b has been replaced by 4k. Again, that's this part here. A has been replaced with this 4, and C has been replaced with this 9 here. Now you just have to do some algebra on this. So 4k squared is like 4 squared and k squared. So that's 16k squared. And this, when you multiply it, is 4 times 4. 16 times 9 is 144. So we have a negative 144. Now you just have to solve this here to get a value for k, because that's our goal, to find out what k is, right? It says find a value for k. So I'm going to move the 144 over to the right side by adding 144. Then I'm going to divide by 16 on both sides. I have k squared equals 9. Now when you have a squared, the reverse of that, or to get rid of a square, we take a square root. We're going to take a square root on both sides. When you take a square root, remember whenever you have a square and you take a square root, you're going to have the positive and the negative answer. So we have negative 3 and 3. Some students left their answers like this. However, now we go back to the question. It says k is greater than 0. So in this case it says we're looking for k values, only the ones that are greater than 0. In other words, only the positive k values. So when you look at this, you're like, I'm going to reject negative 3. That's not an answer that works in this situation. So the final answer for this is k equals 3. Only the value that's greater than 0. In number 4, the question states, the diagram shows part of the graph with equation y equals x squared plus px plus q. The graph cuts the x-axis at negative 2 right here. When it says cuts, it means intersects or intercepts. We're looking for the x-intercepts. And 3. So here are two x-intercepts, negative 2 and 3. They're clearly seen here, and they're actually stated right here. This might be confusing. It gives a p and a q. The reason that might be confusing is when we made an equation for a quadratic, when we're given two x-intercepts, there was something called the intercept form. And okay, here's the original equation, and here's the intercept form. So we've used that one before. When we're given these 2 points and we want to make the equation for this, we can write it in this form. And we use the letters P and Q in this. So the textbook uses those letters as well. It doesn't matter what you call those. You can call those anything you want. But what's important here is you don't confuse those with this P and Q in here. They're different. Those are totally different. It's for this, the P and Q just means what are these values, right? So if you rewrite this in intercept form, we know the intercepts are negative 2 and 3, so we put 2 here and negative 3 here. Remember that these are always the opposite. So this is negative 2, this is positive 2, this is positive 3, this is negative 3. So that's written in intercept form. Now, to find out what P and Q are, you have to take this equation and change it to look like this. For this to become this, we need to just multiply this out. Alright, so that's what I'm going to do next. Leave the a out here, and I'm just going to multiply all this. When you multiply all this, you get x squared minus x minus 6. And then I've just rewritten that with the a gone. And the reason I know the a is gone because it tells you the equation for the parabola below looks like this. And there's no a value. There's no number, nothing in front of that. So we know that a must be 1. So there's no a value. So this is now written in this form, which it says that's what it looks like. So now you compare this to this, and you have the same form, it's standard form. And now you have to find the p and q. P is the value in front of x, q is the final value, or the c value. So p, in other words, is -1, because we have -1 here. And q, oh, that should say q, sorry. Q is -6, because it's this. Again, this should say q. Sorry about that. So there you have it. Hope that makes sense.